Hey guys, today we're going to talk about Promethean characters in the cult classic 80s movie that starred the mom from Stranger Things before she got old, Heathers. More specifically, the off-Broadway musical adaptation. More specifically than that, we're looking at two characters in particular, Jason Dean, or JD for short, and Heather Chandler. Now you may be thinking, that's great and all, but what does Promethean mean? Well, I'm glad you conveniently asked right when I need you to. A Promethean character is a character with godlike characteristics, or thinks that they're a god. They have some of the following traits. They're inherently rebellious, unpredictable, ambitious, are striving for eternal glory, fame, or a place in history, are superhuman or are exceptionally gifted, are constantly seeking knowledge, or are troubled or suffer from their gift. They can be all of these things, or they can be very few of these things, but display these traits very strongly. Now that we've cleared that up, let's talk about the horror that is JD. JD is JD. He transfers 10 times before landing at Westerberg High School at the beginning of the musical. As soon as he meets Veronica for the first time, something clicks between them and he opens up about his past life, his mom being dead, and his suicidal thoughts as well as how he copes with them. So we instantly get he's a messed up dude. Later that night, after getting in a friendship and high school career-ending fight with Heather C., Veronica sneaks into his house and they sleep together. The following morning, they go together to Heather's house and she accidentally kills Heather while he purposefully kills Heather.
Veronica. What? Never mind.
Okay.
He then goes on to trick Veronica into killing two more of her quote-unquote friends after they upset her, and he tries to blow up their entire school in a fake mass suicide. So, obviously he's messed up, but how is he Promethean? Well, let's take a look at the chart. Inherently rebellious. The first thing we see him do in the entire musical is fight Kurt and Ram in the cafeteria.
Hey Ram, doesn't the cafeteria have a no bags allowed rule?
Seem to have an open door policy for assholes, though.
Hold his arms.
Holy shit! 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 Holy shit!
This shows that he doesn't conform to the typical structure of society where the jocks and popular kids rule the school. Instead, he fights back. There's also a scene later in the show where JD just kind of shoots a gun in the house. Like, his dad leaves the room and he just shoots the gun to piss his dad off.
Ah, damn it! No firearms in the house!
Why are you carrying a gun?
It pissed off my dad. It was funny.
No, it's not funny. None of this is funny. You're carrying a loaded weapon.
He's also unpredictable. When he kills Kurt and Ram, he convinces Veronica that they're just shooting them with tranquilizers.
Whoa, ow. Is that real?
Yeah. But we're filling it with E-flu bullets.
What?
My granddad scored them in World War II. They contain this powerful tranquilizer. The Nazis used them to fake their own suicides when the Russians invaded Berlin. We will use them to knock out Kurt and Ram. Just long enough to make it look like a suicide pact. Complete with a forged suicide note.
But in reality, Ich Lüge means I'm lying in German. He's loading those guns with real bullets.
1, 2, 3! Holy crap!
Stay
Are you chasing me? I'm confused.
What the fuck have you done?
Veronica had no clue this was coming and started to freak out when she realized what happened. JD also displays his unpredictability when he gets the entire school to sign a petition, which initially seems really innocent.
Here, I need you both to sign this.
What is that?
It's a petition to have the governor declare a day of remembrance to honor the victims of suicide. I've gotten everybody to sign it, even the dweebs and losers.
I'm not signing that.
Veronica, why are you pulling my dick? It was your boyfriend's idea. He made up the signature sheet and everything.
But we later learn that it's actually a suicide note because he's planning on blowing up the entire school as a fake mass suicide.
Well, our classmates thought they were signing a petition. You gotta come out here and see what they really signed. Mine built a bomb, and our school is Vietnam. There's guaranteed they never see their senior prom. The high school gym goes boom with everyone inside. The rumble of their doom will let this note explaining why they died.
While Veronica knew something was up when she heard JD had the idea for the petition, she had no clue what his true intentions were, and neither did anyone else, or they would have never signed it. Our next two traits go hand in hand with JD. He's ambitious and sees himself as superhuman, as a god. The perfect example of this is a song that JD and Veronica sing together, literally called Our Love is God.
But when the morning comes, we'll burn it down and then we'll build the world again. Our love is God.
Here, JD is straight up saying he wants to create a new world for him and Veronica to live in. This is super ambitious and godlike with the creation of worlds. Also, saying that together they're God, or at least equal to God.
And when the morning comes, we'll burn away that tear and raise our city. Our love is God.
If you watch Veronica's face through the whole thing, you see in the beginning she's shocked. But then she calms down. She thinks, okay, he's just a normal person. He must be speaking metaphorically. Yeah, he's not. He really does want to burn everything down for them and build a perfect society.
We can start and finish wars. We're what killed the dinosaurs. We're the asteroid that's overdue. The dinosaurs choked on the dust. They died because God said they must. The new world needed room for me and you.
It's important to note here that while yes, they're saying that they're the reason why the dinosaurs were killed, the biggest mass extinction our planet has ever seen, they're still giving credit to God. They're saying that they died because God said they must. I'll refer back to this later.
I worship you. I trade my life for yours. We'll make them disappear. We'll plant our garden here. Our love is God.
When JD says, we'll plant our garden here, he's referring to the Garden of Eden, meaning he's going to create the perfect place for the two of them to live. Again, he's showing his ambition and his supposed equality with God.
Our love is God. Our love is God. We can start and finish wars. We're what killed the dinosaurs. We're the asteroid that's overdue.
Stop being a dick!
The dinosaurs choked on the dust. They died because
Did you catch that? Now, in the moment of JD killing his next two victims, and Veronica realizing the guns were full of real bullets and not tranquilizers, JD says something very important. Listen closely, I'm going to say what he sings. We can start and finish wars. We're what killed the dinosaurs. We're the asteroid that's overdue. The dinosaurs will turn to dust. They'll die because we say they must. And then he fires his shot. Did you hear the difference? JD changed it from, the dinosaurs choked on the dust, they'll die because God said they must, to, the dinosaurs will turn to dust, they'll die because we say they must. That's very important because it shows that he thinks the two of them together are God, that they get to decide who lives and who dies. just like God did with the dinosaurs. Now JD is doing with Heather Chandler, Kurt, and Ram. So yeah, that's those two traits. There is one final trait that JD suffers from. He's damaged, obviously. He's aware of it and admits it many times throughout the musical. In the first scene that he really meets Veronica, which I mentioned earlier, he tells her his mom killed herself and that he has suicidal thoughts, so instead of cutting himself, he purposefully gets brain freeze.
Jason Dean, JD for short.
JD.
Care for a hit?
Your mommy know that you eat all that crap.
Not anymore. When mom was alive, we lived halfway normal. Now it's just me and my dad. It's normal. Reach your brain, shatter your skull by pain with your pain. Forget who you are, unburn your road. Forget it 6 weeks, don't look back on the road. When that voice in your head says you're better off dead, don't open the just freeze and break.
And then he says it again many, many times over the course of the show, and then as one of his final messages to Veronica before blowing himself up at the end of the musical.
Give it to me.
Stay away from me.
Or what? I am damaged. Far too damaged. But you're not beyond repair. Stick around here. Make things better. 'Cause you beat me fair and square.
So we've established, yes, JD is very Promethean, thinking he's God and all. And this causes problems for the other characters. Mainly his murder of the 3 other students and attempt at blowing up the school. He clings to Veronica as a justification for his actions, but really he just does it because he sees himself as above everyone else and thinks that he can fix the world by killing. Now, Heathers is an interesting musical/film because I can, and will, identify 2 clear Promethean figures in it, JD and Heather Chandler. Now, we've talked about JD, and we're going to get to Heather, but it's interesting because both of their traits, while they manifest in different ways, spoiler alert, Heather isn't going to go on a killing spree like JD, are both due to them holding the same core beliefs. They both believe that they're above those around them. JD thinks he's a god, or at least is godlike, and so it's his responsibility to make the world a better place for Veronica by killing those that make it a bad one. Heather Chandler, on the other hand, thinks that she's better than everyone around her, and this allows her to treat them like garbage without thinking twice. She dominates Sherwood, Ohio, but we'll get to that in a few seconds. Before we jump to Heather, we need to realize there's something to learn from JD, and it's not that Ich Lüge means I'm lying in German, which could come in handy if you ever have a boyfriend trying to convince you to shoot someone with Ich Lüge bullets saying that they're just tranquilizers. That's important, but the real lesson is that no one is better than anyone else. Everyone's got problems and everyone's human, so we need to respect that and treat everyone as equals and not as though we're better than them. Now on to Heather! Well, one of them. The mean one. Let's let Veronica introduce her.
And Heather Chandler, the almighty. She is a mythic bitch. You're solid Teflon, never bothered, never harassed. I would give anything to be like that.
Yeah, she's not nice. She loves making other people's lives hell. Now you're thinking, wait, didn't you say that she was the first one killed? Isn't she the victim here? Nope, wrong. Heather's evil. I'm not saying she deserved to die, but she's not a nice chick. Let's look at the chart. So, since she's not on stage for as long as JD, we're not going to have as much proof as we did for him, but we will have some, starting with ambition. Now, Heather C is the head of the Heathers, and all of the other Heathers are terrified of her, because her main goal in life was to be super popular and rule high school, but it wasn't enough for her to just be part of the head clique in school. She had to control it. Anytime someone does anything that threatens her dominion over the clique, she fights back instantly to protect her spot. One example of this is when they're singing Candy Store, which is basically a song threatening to kick Veronica out of the group if she doesn't get back in line, and Heather Duke starts singing lead, so Heather Chandler just pushes her to the ground and yells at her before continuing the song. She's got to be on top. That's her ambition showing. That's why when at Ram and Kurt's party, when Veronica defies her, instead of just getting mad at her, she makes a scene and screams at her, telling her she's going to ruin her life.
Shot, okay? I'm resigning my commission from the lip gloss Gestapo. Going back to civilian life.
No!
Oh, don't spin me. I'm not feeling it.
You don't get to be a nobody. Come Monday, you're an ex-somebody. Not even the losers will touch you now. Transfer to Washington. Transfer to Jefferson. No one at Westerberg's gonna let you play their reindeer games.
This is her ambition showing again. She can't show any weakness because this could potentially allow another person in the group to move above her. She must be head Heather at all times. Another trait she has is wanting fame or glory. She wants everyone to know who she is. This is most clearly displayed after she's dead. You see, since this is a musical, Heather gets to share her 2 cents about the suicide note and the fact that she's dead through the rest of the show. In this particular scene, it's the day after Heather dies, and the school is finding out about her death. You know what? I'll just let you watch it instead of explaining.
Heather's dead, but she will live inside me, and I'll be inside of her. Heather died, our sins fell on her shoulders. Heather died, so we could all be free.
I'm bigger than John Lennon!
She's gone, but she will live forever.
Heather's excited. She's happy to be dead. Not happy because she doesn't have any homework to do or had any actual problems that she's relieved to be freed from, but because now everyone knows her and she's famous. She's bigger than John Lennon. All she wanted in life was to be popular and famous, and now she finally got what she wants. All she had to do was be murdered by one of her friends and have it covered up as a suicide. Now, while Heather C. isn't on stage alive for long, she does put a lot of events into action. It's because she picks Veronica up out of the social gutter and reinvents her into the Heatherbot Veronica we know now that they become quote-unquote friends. And it's because they're friends and Heather C. treats her like crap that JD feels it's okay for them to accidentally kill her. And it's because of this first killing that JD gets the idea that now he can solve all of Veronica's problems by killing them. Now, like I said earlier, Heather and JD are 2 sides of a very weird Promethean coin. JD sees people as below him because he thinks he's a god and therefore kills them to solve his problems. Heather sees people as below her, so she has no conscience and treats them like dirt to satisfy her ambition and need to be known. Heather Chandler is the perfect example of why you should treat everyone nicely. You don't know what they're going through, and you don't know if they're low-key dating a Promethean psycho, although that shouldn't be your only motivation for being a decent human being. You should always treat everyone with dignity and respect and like your equal. But this leads to the question at the heart of the video. So why watch Heathers? Because you want to be depressed and slightly weirded out for the next few days after watching someone try to kill off their entire high school? Let's see what Veronica says at the end of the musical.
We are all damaged. We are all frightened. We're all freaks, but that's all right. We'll endure it. We'll survive it.
Everyone is equal to everyone. No one's better than anyone else. When a character in Heathers thinks that they're superior to everyone else, it leads to their ultimate downfall and their death.